welcome to another episode of Freedom on Fire. I'm your boy, Bob TV. Look, I want to deal with the Obamas for a second. Now, I've told you plenty of times that I worked on the campaign trail with the Obama 08 campaign, was proud, and I gotta let you know, I was proud of the fact that we got a black man who was actually doing well in the presidential run. And I'm not going to lie, it brought a sense of pride to my culture that, hey, people can finally see us as equals. But yet in 2012, I begin to see that this president is becoming like no other president. I mean, he's, the black race were finally thinking that we're going to get somebody that's going to help us deal with some of the struggles that we go through, because he's been there with us in the struggles as a community organizer. And but I do have to say that with the opposition that he had, it was kind of tough. But instead of fighting hard against the opposition, pushing back at the opposition, it seemed like he began to let the opposition mold and shape him to be more like them through compromise. Let's first start with the President of the United States.
One of the great things about America's democracy is we have a vigorous, sometimes bitter, political contest. And when it's done, historically, regardless of party, the person who loses the election congratulates the winner, reaffirms our democracy, and we move forward. That's how democracy survives, because we recognize that there's something more important than any individual campaign, and that is making sure that the integrity and trust in our institutions sustains itself, because democracy by definition works by consent, not by force. I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. Every expert, regardless of political party, regardless of ideology, conservative or liberal, who has ever examined these issues in a serious way will tell you that instances of significant voter fraud are not to be found, that, keep in mind, elections are run by state and local officials, which means that there are places like Florida, for example, where you've got a Republican governor who's a Republican appointees are going to be running and monitoring a whole bunch of these election sites. The notion that somehow if Mr. Trump loses Florida, it's because of those people that you have to watch out for, that is both irresponsible and, by the way, doesn't really show the kind of leadership and toughness that you'd want out of a president. If you start whining before the game's even over, if whenever things are going badly for you and you lose, you start blaming somebody else.
Election fraud. Once again, he's going to go on TV with the Prime Minister of Italy and try to poke fun at Donald Trump again, still talking about Trump, not looking at your own house, and try to undermine his case for the possibility of another rigged election. And the same thing goes for Robert Wright, who just did a video about that. You're trying to act like you ignoring the fact that Debbie Wasserman Schultz manipulated the system against Bernie Sanders. You're trying to act like that the primaries was not rigged. You're trying to spit on the face of the people of Nevada, spit on the face of the people of Arizona, spit in the face of the people in New York and many other places that experience election fraud. You trying to make us think that when you talk about voter fraud, you talk about election fraud in general. We're not that dumb. Matter of fact, we're smarter, way smarter than you think, and that's another problem I have with President Obama. He think that just because he's president, he's no more than everything. No, you know more about the election process. You may know more about the laws, but you don't know everything than everybody. So just because you're president, that don't mean you're the smartest person in the world. You got to remember, you didn't get in that office. We voted you in that office. We're trusting you. It was a trust issue. It's not a fact issue. So once again, you go and undermine and try to make the American people think that you're talking about election fraud in general when you're really talking about voter fraud. Mr. President, you may be right on the voter fraud situation. It is hard to prove voter fraud. Voter fraud, we already know, sir, voter fraud and election fraud is two different things. So Donald Trump is right to think that you're going to rig this election against him. And I think it's right for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson that you're going to rig the election against him. Far as I know, your camp got with the Republican camp and rigged this election for Donald Trump so she can win. I don't know. I do not trust the government at all about anything. About anything no more. So, Mr. President, election fraud is real. It was widespread in New York City where I lived at. People purged off the rolls. And it is proven in the WikiLeaks that they knew about this thing before the voting happened. So that's my problem with you. And again, I respect you as an individual. I love you as an individual. Before as a president, I'm going to call it like it is. I get on myself, I get on you. What makes you think I think you're better than me? You're not better than me. You're not better than the viewers who watch this show. You're not better than the constituents that put you in office. You didn't get in that office on your own. It was the people who put you in that office. But you seem to forget that, sir. So stop. Stop talking about this election fraud. There was a widespread election fraud in the primaries, and you're just going to crap on it and try to act like we don't know it, hoping that we're going to forget it. And we're not going to forget it. We're not going to ever forget it. And Donald Trump has a right to complain and whine because we're complaining and whining. And it's not complaining and whining. It's the distrust in the system and being upset. You guys are complaining and whining because you feel like that you're going to lose this election. But you're covering up everything. You got somebody who you're going out there vouch for that's being looked at on the investigation. On the investigation, had it been you wouldn't even be in the race. So, Mr. President, once again, and actually you're making yourself look stupid. And actually, you're smearing your own legacy with this crap. This will be the part of the legacy that will bite you in the behind for history. Because even though you try to ignore it, even though you try to smooth your way with your smile and your smooth talk to make us think that election, like you could do a Jedi mind trick and make us think that election fraud does not exist, it is not working. It does exist. And this is the part of your legacy that you turned your back on widespread election fraud, wouldn't even address this situation. But now when it comes to your golden girl, the one that you want to get in office because you made a deal with her for her to be Secretary of State, now it's her turn and you're going to do whatever you can to push her in to keep Donald Trump from smearing your legacy. You don't have to worry about Donald Trump. You're smearing your own legacy. Stop being a hack. Stop trying to act like we're dummies. Stop trying to play your Jedi mind tricks on us. We're smarter than you think. Election fraud is real. You ignored it. You're supposed to be the first black president in the United States, and black people fought for election rights. And you are just acting like it didn't exist in the primaries and trying to make us think that it won't exist in the general when we believe it's going to exist more in the general than any time it is. It whining and complaining? No, it's just a fact because it happened then, it can happen now, and you need to take that, turn that sideways, and you know what I mean. Peace.